Welcome to the Ashford and St Peter's antenatal exercise videos. Exercise is recommended in pregnancy to help improve or maintain your fitness, reduce the risk of developing gestational diabetes, and to manage pain such as pelvic or back pain. There are some rare occasions when exercise may not be considered healthy or safe during pregnancy. You should have been referred into this exercise class by your physiotherapist. They will have screened you and made sure that you are able to complete this exercise program. If your pregnancy or medical history alters, you may need to review this with your obstetric team or physiotherapist before continuing these exercises. In addition to this, you can also check our leaflet online at Pelvic Health Physiotherapy, ASPH, where you will find, if in doubt, check it out leaflet. If you have any of these symptoms, please get them checked before continuing with this exercise video. If you have any concerns that you have not already discussed, please contact your physiotherapist or your obstetric team to review this before starting these exercises. We hope you enjoy the class. We're going to start with a warm-up. First, let's bring our attention to our breath. We're going to place our hands onto our lower ribs and take a nice deep breath in. You should feel your hands open out like an umbrella opening, and then closing as you breathe out. Take a few of these breaths to start. Then we're going to think about our pelvic floor. So continue your breathing as we are doing. And on the next one, as you breathe out, think about engaging your pelvic floor. So closing from the back passage, tightening up and pulling forward towards the pubic bone. Hold that for 5 seconds whilst your breathing continues. And then drop and let go. Standing is the most tricky position to find our pelvic floor in. So if you are unable to find it in this position or feel the sensation, try this exercise again in sitting or lying on your side, making sure the movement of the pelvic floor starts from the back passage and pulls up and forwards through the vagina while your breathing continues steadily. We'll continue with this pelvic floor engagement, aiming to hold between 3 to 5 seconds, 5 to 10 times, depending what you're able to do at this stage. We're now going to move on to getting our neck moving. Relax your arms by your side, and we're just going to gently turn our head all the way to one side to look over our shoulder, and then slowly back to the other side. Try to do this movement slowly. After doing this, we're going to start to move the head down to the side. So imagine you're bringing your ear to your shoulder, back to the center, and down to the other side. Don't force your neck, but you might feel a gentle stretch on each side as you do this. We're going to start to bring our shoulder movement into this. So I want you to roll both shoulders forwards, making big circles, bringing the shoulders back and stretching through the front of the chest, up towards the ears, round and down. Once you've done this 5 times, you're going to do your shoulder rolls backwards. Really exaggerating each of those movements so that the shoulders come forward, up, back and down. We're going to increase the movement through the upper back and the shoulders. So we're going to bring both arms up to shoulder level and we're going to drop our head. We're going to take a nice deep breath in to prepare. And then as we breathe out, we're going to lift the head, open out the shoulders and widen the chest. Then breathe in, come back together, breathe out and open. Keep this movement nice and fluid and smooth. And continue for 5 repetitions. Once you've completed this, we're going to get our pelvis moving. It might help to place your hands just on the front of your hips so you can feel the movement. I want you to think about your pelvic ring like a bucket of water. And we're going to think about tipping the water out the front of the bucket as we increase the arch in our lower back and point our bottom out behind us. And then we're going to engage the tummy muscles, tuck the bottom under, and imagine we're pouring water out the back of the bucket. Continue this movement, tipping forwards and tipping backwards. As you're doing this, don't push into any uncomfortable movements, but pause at each end. And then we're going to start to think about our middle position. See if you can find that middle position where you gently tuck your bottom under slightly and the lower tummy muscles should naturally engage. We're going to hold that middle position for any of our further exercises in standing. We're now going to move on to getting the ankles and the feet moving a bit more. So we're just going to rise up onto our toes on one side and we're going to circle the ankle. We can still take a little bit of weight through that toe and then turn the circle in the other direction. Whilst we're doing this, make sure that we keep the hips nice and level and we don't drop down on the side that we're bearing our weight through. We're going to swap to the other side with our ankle circles. Engage that lower tummy, keep the pelvis level, circle the ankle one direction, and then into the other direction. We're now going to put our weight onto both feet, keep our feet shoulder width apart, and remember that nice neutral pelvic position of our bucket of water around our pelvis. We're going to push up onto both toes, keeping our balance, and then lowering back down. Come back up. This time when we come back down, if you're able to, try and just lift the toes slightly at the front and come back down. So we're rolling onto the balls of our feet, keeping our balance, back down and onto our heels. Continue this movement a few times. Think about your pelvic position and engage in the lower tummy. And when you feel ready, come back to a middle position where your weight feels nice and equal between the balls of your foot and your heels. We're just going to think about our weight side to side. So we're going to shift our weight from our left to our right leg. And when you feel ready, come back and find your middle position. So we have our weight evenly through our left and our right leg. We're going to think about this position for any exercises we do in standing, considering our pelvic bucket of water, thinking about our weight between our toes and our heels, and our weight left and right. We are going to complete a roll down exercise. Stand with your feet shoulder width apart and your hands gently by your side. To start this movement, we start from the neck, we tuck our chin, we roll down through our upper back, unstacking each vertebrae as we go, folding over, allowing our hands to hang in front of us until we get all the way down as far as we feel able to go. We pause for a moment and then we start to stack back up, stacking up from the lower back first, the mid back, uncurling the shoulders, and finally the head. Continue this exercise for 3 to 4 movements. We're going to do some heel raises as though we're running on our toes. To do this, start with your feet shoulder width apart and find your pelvic neutral position. Keep your lower tummy gently engaged. We're going to push up onto our toes and then as though we're running, we're going to drop alternate heels down to the floor. We're going to do this slowly and you must think about your pelvic position. I want you to imagine like a spirit level across your waistband, and you're keeping that bubble of the spirit level in the middle so that you're not wobbling your hips side to side. We're going to use a ball or a chair to sit on, and then we're going to get our pelvis moving a little more. Place your feet slightly wider than hip width apart. This will help you to keep your stability. Placing your hands onto the sides of your hips might help you to feel the movement around your pelvis more. Gently engage your lower tummy muscles and try to keep your stability if you're sitting on the ball. First of all, we're going to start by tilting our pelvis forwards and backwards. We roll the ball forwards as we tuck our bottom under, and we roll the ball backwards as we poke our bottom out behind us. Feel the ends of this movement, pause for a second or two, and then return to the other position. Once you've done this 10 times, you can start to do your pelvic tilts side to side. Move to the left and off to the right, slowly and steadily, keeping the control of the ball. Notice the movement comes from the bottom and the pelvis, and the upper part of the torso stays still. Repeat this 10 times. We're now going to do some circles with our pelvis. So circle the ball round in one direction, putting the bottom out behind you and round at the front, really exaggerating the edges of that circle. You can do 5 to 10 times in one direction and then change directions. We've swapped onto a chair to complete some more of these exercises to show you can do this exercise on the chair or on the ball. If you are happy sitting on the ball, please continue with this. What we're going to do is find our pelvic neutral position, so tipping your pelvis forwards and backwards just a couple of times to find where your back feels most stable and in the middle. We're then going to gently engage our lower tummy muscles. We're going to focus on keeping our upper body and our bottom nice and still whilst we do some movements with our legs. First of all, we're going to extend one knee straight in front of us. You can have the foot straight or flex depending on what's more comfortable. Place it back down on the floor and then swap to the other side. Continue this movement. The focus here is not the leg movement, but how challenging the leg movement makes it for you to keep your torso, your tummy and your upper body still. Keep the lower tummy muscles engaged and your breathing steady. Continue to alternate your leg movements until the end of the exercise. We can also do a heel raise in this position. So we can push up on one side onto our toes, come back down and swap to the other side as though we're walking up and down. Continue to alternate this until the end of the exercise. We're going to do some squats or sit to stands. Start with your feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Make sure when you do this movement, your knees follow in line with your toes and do not drop in together. You're going to lower down as though you're going to sit on the ball, and then push back up to standing. You can do this slower if you wish to, or take a rest on the ball each time if you need to. You can also perform this exercise onto a chair. This should be a hardback dining chair to give you more support. This exercise is on our knees. You may wish to use a chair or a ball in front of you for a little support. We start resting high on our knees, and we're going to lower our bottom towards our heels. And as we push back up, engage in the lower tummy and the buttock muscles to push back up nice and strong and gently pushing our hips forward. Repeat this movement, lowering down, pushing back up and engage in the tummy and lower bottom. This exercise is on all fours. Put your hands shoulder width apart and your knees in line with your hips. We're going to start by rounding the back and dropping the head down, like an angry cat. We're then going to dip into an opposite position where we raise the head and the bottom and allow the tummy and the chest to hang down. Continue with this movement. Pause for a few seconds at the end of each position to allow the stretch. We're going to now drop into a stretch. To do this, we're going to tuck our bottom under slightly and we're going to drop back onto our heels. You may need to widen your knees to accommodate your baby bump. Reach your hand forward as far as you can to feel comfortable and keep your head down dropped, looking towards your knees. Hold this stretch for 20 seconds. Once that time is up, gently come back up to all fours and repeat this exercise. We're going to do an exercise in side lying. To position yourself, have a slight bend at the hips and the knees. Put your feet in line with your bottom and your knees stacked on top of each other. If you feel more comfortable for this exercise, you can place a pillow lengthways between your knees. You might want to have a pillow or a block at your head to keep it supported. And then you're going to place your arms out in front of you on top of each other. To start this exercise, we're just going to make sure we're in that middle pelvic position. So you might want to do a couple of rocks of your pelvis, tilting the pelvis forwards and backwards, and then find where your middle position is. From here, gently engage your lower abdominal muscles and your pelvic floor. We're going to start the movement by opening our arm, imagining like we're opening a massive book behind us. Notice how our head and our upper body follow our hand. Bring your hands back together and really think about engaging that lower tummy on the return. Continue with this movement. As we open, make sure the upper body and the head follow the hand. Think about the engagement of the tummy and come back round. Keep your breathing steady with this. As you open up, taking a nice deep breath in, and when you're closing your arms back together, breathing out. You will then need to turn over and complete this exercise on the other side. We're going to cool down and do some stretches. We're going to stretch our inner thigh muscle. Put your leg out to the side, keeping the other one bent. You should feel a stretch on the inside of your thigh. If you don't, you can start to drop your bottom back towards the heel and increase that position until you feel the stretch on your inner thigh. We shouldn't bounce this stretch. We should hold steady for 20 to 30 seconds. If this causes pain on your inner thigh or across the pubic bone, that's more than a stretch, please do not continue with this stretch. We must make sure that we do the same stretch on the other side. We're now going to move on to a stretch for our front of our thigh, called our hip flexors. We're going to come up into high kneeling. You may need to use a chair to give you some balance. Bring one knee up in front of you, as though you're in a proposal position, and we're going to stretch the thigh that you see closest to the camera. To do this, we're going to enter a slight lunge position on the weight-bearing leg and see the stretch through the front of the hip. Hold that position for 20 to 30 seconds without bouncing. You must then swap and do the same on the other side. We are also going to complete a hamstring stretch in this position. To do this, straighten your knee with the foot at the front, poke your bottom out behind you, and lean forward. You should feel a stretch of your thigh on the side of the leg that is straight. Again, don't bounce, and hold this stretch for 20 to 30 seconds. You must also complete this on the other side. We're going to finish our stretches in standing. Slowly get yourself up, and we're going to do a calf stretch. To do this, we put one foot in front of the other, making sure the feet are facing forward. Then we're going to bend our front leg and keep the back leg straight with the heel planted firmly on the floor. We're going to hold this for 20 to 30 seconds without bouncing. Be sure to check the position of both your front and your back foot to make sure they are facing forward. Again, you may wish to hold on to a table or chair to help your balance. We must also complete this stretch on the other side. We're now going to do a stretch and to get our lower back moving. We're going to stand with our hips and feet shoulder width apart. We're going to reach one arm up into the air and we're going to lean down to the opposite side. Try to stay in the center or ever so slightly pushed forward rather than leaning backwards for this stretch. Hold that position for 20 to 30 seconds. Slowly come back up and complete the stretch to the other side. Arm above your head, lean down to the opposite side, keeping in the middle or ever so slightly forward. Hold this position. We're going to complete a stretch for our buttock muscles. Sit slightly forward on your chair. Bring one foot to rest on top of the other knee. From this position, push your chest forward and lean your upper body forwards until you feel a stretch in your bottom. You may need to adjust the position of your foot to bring it further across your body or further up. When you find the stretch in your buttock, hold that position without bouncing for 20 to 30 seconds. Complete this on each side. We're going to lift the knee up, place the foot, keep the shoulders back, and gently lean the upper body forwards until we feel the stretch in our buttock, holding for 20 to 30 seconds. You can complete all of these stretches more than once on each side if you wish. Well done for completing the class. If you feel that your pain has been made worse by this class, then please contact your physiotherapist to discuss this further. However, it is normal to have some aching for a short period of time after the class or the day after, but this should not be sharp in nature or make it harder for you to complete your normal daily activities. We recommend you complete this class a minimum of twice a week, up to 5 days a week. If you are just starting with exercise, you may need to break this down into smaller bite-sized pieces, for example, completing 10 minutes at a time, and gradually build this up to the full class.